The cafe was warm that evening, filled with the soft hum of chatter and the smell of roasted coffee beans. Emma wiped her hands on her apron and glanced at the clock again. It was almost 6. Her shift had just begun, and already she could feel the familiar weight of exhaustion pressing against her shoulders. Between college classes, night shifts, and taking care of her little brother after their parents passed away, sleep had become a luxury she couldn't afford. But still, she smiled, because smiling made people feel comfortable, and kindness cost nothing. Across the cafe, 2 men were sitting near the window. One of them, James, was a single father who often came in after picking up his daughter, Lily, from ballet practice. He liked the quiet comfort of this place, and more than that, he liked how Emma treated his daughter like her own. The other man, Brad, was his co-worker, loud, confident, and the kind who thought charm was a substitute for empathy. As Emma approached their table, Brad leaned back in his chair, flashing a grin. "Hey, aren't you in my economics class?" he asked, pretending to remember her. Emma nodded politely. "Yes, I think so. You sit in the back, right?" she said, setting down their cups of coffee. Brad smirked. "Yeah, I'd ask you to study together sometime, but," he looked her up and down, his tone dripping with arrogance. "You don't really seem like date material." The words hung in the air like a slap. Emma blinked, taken aback, unsure whether to laugh it off or walk away. She wasn't dressed fancy, just her cafe uniform, hair tied in a bun, dark circles under her eyes. But that didn't give anyone the right to say that. She smiled faintly and said, "That's okay. I'm not looking for a date." Then she turned to leave. But James had heard everything. He watched the way her face fell just slightly before she forced that polite smile again. He looked at Brad, disbelief flashing in his eyes. "Really, man? That's what you say to someone working hard and being kind to you?" Brad shrugged. "Relax, it was a joke." James's voice lowered, calm but sharp. "No, it wasn't. And if you can't see the difference between a joke and disrespect, maybe you should think about what kind of person you are." Brad laughed awkwardly. "Come on, don't tell me you're defending her. You don't even know her." James took a sip of his coffee, eyes steady. "I know enough. She's the one who remembers my daughter's favorite muffin every week. The one who works 2 jobs and still manages to make everyone feel seen. She's not date material because she's marriage material, and that's something you wouldn't understand." The cafe went quiet. Brad's smirk faded. Emma froze, her hand halfway to the counter, her cheeks turning pink. She didn't know what to say. For years, she had been invisible, a blur moving through shifts and struggles. And suddenly, someone had seen her. Truly seen her. That night, after her shift ended, Emma walked home through the chilly streets, replaying James's words in her mind. Marriage material. She smiled softly. Not because she believed it, but because it had been a long time since anyone had spoken to her with that kind of respect. Days turned into weeks. James and Lily kept coming to the cafe, their visits becoming something Emma secretly looked forward to. Lily would sit by the window, drawing pictures with her crayons, while James worked on his laptop. Emma would bring them cookies, on the house, pretending it was cafe policy, though it never was. One rainy afternoon, Lily handed Emma a piece of paper. It was a drawing of 3 stick figures, a man, a woman, and a little girl, all holding hands under a big umbrella. "That's you, Daddy, and me," Lily said proudly. Emma's heart melted. "Oh, sweetheart, that's beautiful," she whispered. James looked embarrassed but smiled. "She's got quite the imagination." But Emma could see something else in his eyes, something unspoken, something tender. That night, as James tucked Lily into bed, she whispered, "Daddy, are you going to marry Emma?" James chuckled softly. "Why would you ask that?" "Because you look happy when you talk to her," Lily said matter-of-factly. "And you don't look happy a lot." James paused. Out of the mouths of children came truths adults were too afraid to say. He hadn't thought about marriage, not since his wife passed away 3 years ago. He'd promised himself he wouldn't let anyone in again, not after watching love slip through his fingers. But Emma, she was different. She wasn't trying to fix him. She was just kind, steady, and real. The next day, James came to the cafe alone. Emma noticed immediately. "No Lily today?" she asked. "She's with her grandma," he said, smiling. "I wanted to talk to you, actually." Her heart skipped a beat. "Oh, about what?" James hesitated. About that day. When Brad said those things. I just wanted you to know I wasn't trying to embarrass you. I couldn't stay quiet. You didn't deserve that. Emma looked down, twisting her apron string. You didn't embarrass me, she said softly. You did something no one's ever done for me before. You stood up for me. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the cafe noise faded away. It was just them, two people who had both carried silent burdens for too long, finally finding someone who understood. As winter came, life got tougher for Emma. Her little brother, Ethan, fell sick, and hospital bills started piling up. She picked up extra shifts, sleeping barely 3 hours a night. One evening, as she rushed to leave work, James was waiting outside. You look exhausted, he said gently. She laughed tiredly. I'm fine. Just life, you know. Emma, you don't have to pretend with me, he said. If you ever need help. I can't, she interrupted quickly. I don't want anyone's pity. It's not pity, he said quietly. It's care. There's a difference. For a moment, she wanted to cry. But instead, she smiled again, that same brave, tired smile she always wore. A few days later, James found out through a mutual friend that Emma had missed work because Ethan's condition had worsened. Without a second thought, he went to the hospital, bringing soup and coloring books for Ethan. When Emma saw him, she froze. You didn't have to come, she whispered. I wanted to, he said simply. We're friends, aren't we? Tears filled her eyes. You keep doing things no one ever does for me. James smiled faintly. Maybe that's because you keep doing things for everyone else. Weeks later, Ethan recovered, and Emma returned to work, but something inside her had changed. She felt lighter, like the world wasn't quite as cold anymore. And every time James came by, she felt her heart warm in a way she hadn't thought possible. One spring afternoon, Brad walked into the cafe again. He looked surprised to see James sitting there with Emma, laughing over a cup of coffee. Well, Brad said, smirking. Guess she turned out to be date material after all, huh? James didn't flinch. He turned to Brad calmly. No, she didn't turn out to be date material. She's still marriage material, and that hasn't changed. Brad laughed, awkward and defensive, before walking out. Emma shook her head, half amused, half emotional. You really didn't have to say that again, she murmured. James leaned forward, eyes soft. I meant it the first time. And I still mean it. Her breath caught. James. He smiled. I'm not rushing anything. I just want you to know that what I see in you, it's real. You don't have to be anyone else. You're already enough. That night, Emma stood by her small apartment window, watching the city lights shimmer. For years, she had believed love was something distant, something for people who had easier lives, prettier faces, lighter burdens. But now she realized love wasn't about grand gestures. It was about quiet kindness, shared strength, and finding someone who saw you when no one else did. Months passed. Their bond deepened naturally, not through big confessions, but through little moments. James helped her brother with homework. Emma attended Lily's ballet recital. They shared dinners, laughter, and sometimes, silence that felt like home. One evening, after closing time, Emma was cleaning tables when James walked in, holding a small bouquet of lilies. She laughed. You're late. We're closed. I know, he said, stepping closer. But I couldn't wait until tomorrow. Her eyes softened. What's the occasion? He took a deep breath. The day I told that fool you were marriage material, I wasn't just defending you. I was realizing something. You've become a part of my life, Emma. And I don't ever want a day without you in it. Tears welled in her eyes as he handed her the flowers. Are you saying what I think you're saying? She whispered. He smiled. I'm saying that maybe it's time I stopped just talking about marriage material, and started asking if you'd consider being mine. Emma covered her mouth, laughing through her tears. James, He reached for her hand. No pressure. Just honesty. She nodded, her heart full. Yes. 1,000 times yes. Outside, the rain began to fall softly, just like the first night they met. And inside that small cafe, two hearts, once broken, once afraid, found their way back to love. And for the first time in years, Emma didn't feel invisible. She felt seen. She felt chosen. She felt home. Because sometimes, the world will tell you you're not enough. But all it takes is one person, one kind, steady soul, to remind